Order the February. Yeah.
Here.
Alice.
Here.
I see your video, Jerry.
I'm here.
Okay.
Very good. Mayor, you like to?
Sure.
For the pledge?
For the invocation this evening, we have Tim King from St. Paul Evangelical Congregation on Main Street in Rossville. If you would, please come up and give us the invocation. Humbly ask. Artist.
Amen.
Lord, and bless his holy. Yes. Thank you.
Excellent.
Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States. Republic. One nation, under God.
First thing we need to take care of are the meeting minutes from the January 30th council meeting.
Sure. So, first I'd like to welcome everybody on the meeting tonight. I've never felt more protected to approve the minutes this evening. So I'm going to accept the council meeting minutes dated January 30th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All agreeable?
Aye.
Opposed? Sorry, I did that last month too. I gotta remember the delay.
Yep.
Both said aye. Right, motion approved. All right, George, I would just want to share with the public, council had 2 executive sessions over the month of February, both regarding personnel matters. The first was on February 8th at 8:30 a.m. And we had another one on February 21st at 7:30 a.m. So first on the agenda, we have 2 presentations. The first will be the Lititz Police Department Award presentation. Chief, you want to take it away?
Thank you for having us. I have the mayor help us tonight here. We're behind me.
I'll go.
Thank you for the opportunity to present officer recognitions for achievements in 2023. The reaction of the officers are not motivated by recognition or reward. As a command team, which is myself, Sergeant Hand, Detective Sergeant Detz, and Sergeant Heiss, the leaders value in recognizing achievements and other actions of our officers and staff for meritorious and other noteworthy services. We have 2 recognitions tonight: length of service, which will be first, and performance recognition second. So length of service, we have 5 people tonight for length of service. First, please use length of service awards to recognize agency members who have served as appreciated amount of time with the organization. Rules of acknowledging service is a symbol to continuity and organizational memory. By virtue of longevity, their service contributes to the organization's positive culture and environment. So first is Officer Samuel Habershon for 5 years. I just ask you to stand up here, we'll get a picture of all of you, then you can bring her along. Congratulations.
Thanks, Steve. Congratulations.
Okay. Next is Detective Sergeant Stephen Betts. For 20 years. Well, about 20 years. So the second one is Detective Peter Savage, 20 years. He doesn't look at the other 25, does he? Congratulations. First, actually, third in the 20-year category is Sergeant Jared Vaughn, 20 years. The last would be is for 20 years, Officer Jevin Miller. Thank you. Let's snap a quick photo. Thank you. The current group of sworn officers that we have right now has excess of 220 years of cumulative law enforcement experience. So that's a lot of years. So next awards we have are for merit awards. And these are for Officer Jevin Miller and Sam Habershaw. Would you come on up here again? I'm just going to read the narrative. Officer Miller and Officer Habershaw responded to a residential structure fire on February 3rd, 2023 at 5:40 in the morning on Sturbridge Drive. And the officers arrived, they found a working fire on the first floor of the home. Officers Miller and Habershaw immediately ensured the residents were safely evacuated from the home. While occupancy and life safety are always priority, a residential structure fire at this time of the morning is inherently associated with high risk of life safety. This is because occupants are typically sleeping at this hour and have delayed awareness of the fire, which impacts their ability to safely exit the home. Upon verifying there were no people in the home, Officer Habershaw performed a simple act of closing the front door of the home. This act interrupted the ability of the fire to consume a fresh amount of oxygen, limiting the ability of the fire to spread. This action kept the fire in check until the fire company could respond, confirm, and extinguish the fire. The leadership from this fire, that is Officer Miller and Officer Habershaw's action is a significant step to ensure life safety and minimize damage to the home. Just as a side note, those Officers Miller and Habershaw are active members of its fire company and demonstrate the benefits of cross-training emergency service personnel. So congratulations.
I want to thank Deputy Smith for everything he taught us.
There's been a lot of officers here that are members of the fire company. I'm sure Mike could probably recite most of them, but definitely having that training ground at the fire company for the young guys coming up has definitely been a benefit for the whole community. I'll ask Detective Sergeant Stephen Betts to come up. I'll read this a while. On March 13th, 2023 at 1:48 in the afternoon, police was dispatched to a vehicle crash at the intersection of South Broad and East 2nd Avenue. This was a two-vehicle accident. One of the vehicles were overturned and came to a final rest on its roof. The driver of the overturned vehicle was entrapped inside, suspended upside down, and suffering from injuries sustained in the crash. Detective Sergeant Betts was among the group of police officers who responded to the crash. Sergeant Betts entered the overturned vehicle and assisted the driver while hanging upside down by applying his body weight and safely lowering her down out of the vehicle after the seatbelt was cut. The driver actually contacted me about this, and the driver, she actually contacted the U.S. Department of Justice for a award for Steve. She wrote in this instance, Officer Betts was amazing. I was upside down for 20 minutes. I didn't realize it was that long. And I'm starting to feel like my blood was collecting in my nose and I couldn't breathe. Officer Betts climbed in and held me up with his body. When they cut my seatbelt, he was able to get me on the Jeep safely. I was no longer afraid when he was helping me. You got to realize, literally, her head was at the curb. That's the Jeep overturned, and did the top come off? So, with Steve's help, obviously, she's alive today. So, Steve, congratulations. So this is a life-saving award. We have two more life-saving awards. This is for Police Officer John Stritch and Officer Megan White to come up. On July 22nd last year at 10:06 p.m., Officer Stritch and Megan Blank responded to a residence on South Cedar Street for an adult male who was experiencing a mental health crisis. Upon their arrival at the home, the officers encountered a man inside the home who was holding a large knife to his own throat. The man refused to remove the knife from his throat and told officers he did not want to live. Officer Stritch and Officer Blank continued to de-escalate the situation and had dialogue for about 10 minutes while the man continued holding the knife to his throat until it was safe and effective to utilize a less lethal weapon, which was a taser, to incapacitate the man's ability to cause physical injury to himself or death to himself or other officers. Officer Stritch and Blank were able to facilitate hospital-based examination and treatment for the underlying mental health issue. Officer Stritch and Blank followed their training and agency policy regarding utilization of force by law enforcement, crisis intervention, and de-escalation, which is a large word in police work these days, to reach a safe and desired outcome. Congratulations. Thank you. And last, I have Officer Tyler Reinhold, come on up. On September 22nd, 2023 at 9:52 p.m., Officer Reinhold responded to a report of a 74-year-old female who was having difficulty breathing inside of a vehicle on West Orange Street. Officer Reinhold arrived less than 1 minute after dispatch and quickly realized the medical situation was rapidly deteriorating. Shortly after arriving, the female went into sudden cardiac arrest. Officer Reinhold immediately began the life-saving, including using CPR. EMS arrived shortly afterward and transported the vehicle to hospital-based care. The female survived this event. All this is reporting an effort between the police and EMS. Officers managed prompt response and their life-saving actions played a critical role in the positive outcome of the life saved. So she's alive today because of Tyler. Thank you. That's it for me. Just want to, like I said, all officers do a great job, and this is just a lot of things that happen. I'm sure there are a lot of things that we may have missed that officers do day to day, but these are ones that really stuck out in 2023, and very proud of my officers, and they do a great job. They're training, they take it important, and when you do training, they train like to real life, and if you don't do that, that's when you have problems. So congratulations to everybody, and thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too. As I sit there and I listen to those various events that you guys deal with on a regular basis, it obviously makes me personally appreciate you guys even more for what you do, because you don't hear our public hear what you guys really deal with on a daily basis. So thank you all for your service. Obviously, thank you guys the 20 years, the 5 years. Hopefully the rest of you will see you also here and receiving your 20-year service award. The more years you have to go. And I say that all the time, what we have here in Lititz is pretty special, and I genuinely feel what you guys bring to the community is very special and unique. I've heard plenty of people outside of our community say, here it is, people say your police are cool. I think it's kind of neat. So thanks you guys doing that, and thank you spouses and family members for allowing your officers, your family members to make it special for us. And listen to everything that they do today. I mean, it's amazing. Thank you, guys. Next on the presentations, we discussed this last month, and I think Harry had specifically asked for a presentation from Elijah. We talked about the runabout line, and this all coincides with the eventual hope of someday having an extension of the rails and trails down into town. We had talked about some of the things that Elijah has been working on over the years, and most recently the land swaps, which we're going to talk about the next couple of agenda items. So I believe Elijah is going to kind of give.
I can stand.
Yeah.
I'll stand up.
Give the rest of the council who might not be as in tune with it, and obviously the public.
Evening, everyone. Follow up to that, but let me go run down for the runabout line. We'll go to next slide. So what's the runabout line? I say people talk about it a lot, people kind of glaze over. The runabout line is actually a parallel length of rail line that we built alongside the Norfolk Southern existing line that would allow trains to switch and get into Kenview. Next slide, Rob. If you've ever gone up North Broad Street at about 2 p.m., this is the site you'll see. This is the train that's actually delivering supplies to Johnson & Johnson. It's the equivalent of dozens of tractor and trailers coming into town over the course of a week. So this is actually a benefit Kenview use it for their operation. For those of you that don't know, Johnson Johnson changed the name to Kenview at the beginning of the year, so I'll kind of get caught up on that. Next slide, Rob. So this is a rough drawing of it. The red dotted line is what is proposed. It's about 15 feet from the existing rail line. And it goes from the edge of Lititz Springs Park. You'll see the skate park and the Bucks Field there. You'll see the rec center site, and then it goes on to the middle school campus. Next slide, Ron. So why are we doing this? We've touched on this before. This is part of a 20-year effort to extend the rail trail into the borough. There was several false starts before my time here at the borough. There was discussion to do this runabout line, I think 10 to 15 years ago. There was discussion about doing a switching yard to the west in Penn Township at the borough's quarry site. And in between those, there was about 5 years of dormancy. So in 2019, Norfolk Southern reached out, expressed an interest in moving this forward, but their one condition to negotiate with us in the right way is to have a way for them to access Kenview. As it currently stands, they need to cross into Broad Street in order to access that siding. Next slide, please. So here's the this is the right of way in question. Immediately on the left side of the screen is North Broad Street, and it goes to Oak Street. So ideally, this is the length that would be able to construct the trail and bring the existing rail trail into Lititz Springs Park. Next slide, please. So we've been doing engineering for this since 2021. As part of that engineering, it's been determined that a small amount of right-of-way needs to be obtained from the adjacent property owners. Again, Lititz Springs Park, the rec center site, which the borough owns, and the middle school site. Specifically, tonight we'll kind of focus on the Lititz Springs Park right-of-way. Next slide, please. So we've been discussing this with the Moravian Church of the Park Board for about a year. They're interested in giving us the required right, which is shown in red on this side. It's about 1/4 of an acre. But they don't want to just give it to us. They want it essentially as a land swap with some of the existing area of the rec center. The area highlighted in green is undeveloped. It's basically what was referred to many years ago as the ponding area, because when it does flood in the park, the water ends up going over there. But as we're discussing this, Moravian Church and the park said, well, what about this lease that you have for the rec center's parking lot? That's the area in black. So they would like to give us basically both the red and the black in exchange for the green, which is about a little over 1/2 acre. Next slide, please. So as part of this, independently of the runabout line, we've been planning for a stormwater facility upstream from Lititz Springs. The park board is appreciative of this. They're receptive to this, and they're actually, as part of this agreement for the land swap, would like us to construct it not only the rec center land, but also on a portion of land that's swapped and a portion of their existing in order to mitigate some of the flooding. Next slide, please. Would you go to this slide? So, beyond that, other things are a smaller rain garden near the parking lot. That's basically like staff assistance to the park, for future, grants for flood mitigation. And if Norfolk Southern is at all inclined to give any right away west of Broad Street, discuss the balance of that with the park. So this is what's laid out in the agreement, for the land swap tonight. Next slide, please. So what's next for this? We're still finalizing design plans. We're looking at a water line that goes underneath the trail. So we've been in quite a few discussions with Ken to get that replaced as part of this project, about 7 years old. Securing the right of way, which this is part of, and we're also discussing with the school district. Securing environmental permitting, which is underway, and then hopefully build the project. And we're looking at it construction either this year or next year. If everything falls in place, we can do it this year, but the time to do that is rapidly wrapping up. So if it gets much later than that, we're probably looking at 2025 construction. Last slide is the cost for the project. Current estimates for the roundabout line is about $2.7 million, and the flood mitigation is $210,000. We've been planning for this for a while. The general obligation bond of 2023 covers these costs. And we also have a RACP grant from the state for $1.5 million for the construction. We had a National Fish and Wildlife grant for the design of the stormwater bank, and we're looking at the grant funding for the stormwater bank as well. That takes me to the presentation. So hopefully it's brief enough for Mary. But any questions?
This is Mary. Thank you very much, Elijah. This was very helpful in understanding the full scope of the project, although clearly I don't know whether anybody who's not involved at the level that you and the other engineering team and so forth are will ever understand the full scope of the project. This is a big undertaking, and this was very helpful overview to help us understand the project. Thank you.
From sharing, Elijah could probably elaborate more. Obviously, this is step one of many other steps of someday getting that rail to trail that Elijah showed on one slide, connected from Oak Street, where most of you probably know, down the train out of that area before we can do it. So I don't believe we have a set timeline on when that could happen. And I think the other thing that I remember you educated me on before, it's not that that railway property will become ours. It's a, what's the term called?
So it's right away as rail banking is what it's like. So railroad right away is a difficult thing to just give over. So there's a process that's been in place that most rail trails in the country use, and it's essentially the entity that holds the right of way gives it to another entity to use as a transportation purpose. And time and again, it's been upheld that a rail trail is a transportation purpose. So it's the easiest way to make sure that you get the entire corridor without any kind of claims or liens on it.
Questions from council? Questions from the public regarding?
Rail banking is how it's been described to me.
Be incorrect in stating this, it's almost like a lease. You know, they still own it, but we can use it.
It's a little more complex than that.
In my own simple mind, that was the way I often interpreted when I sat in these meetings, that we don't own it, but we can use it. But I think, as Elijah said, as long as it's being used for transportation, I would assume that's what Warwick Township, it's probably under the same they've done out there to Africa.
Those was actually easier because they could get it, it was already broken up fee simple, so they could go and buy it. They didn't have to deal with Norfolk Southern.
Okay.
So we have to still get the right of way and there's a negotiation for that. So I would anticipate that that takes at least a year or two until we have it. And then obviously the trail needs to be, the rail needs to be removed. It needs to be cleared. Some of it's overgrown. And we need to basically have the funding to do the rail surface, which I've had great discussions with the state about grants for this, but we have to actually hold the right of way before we can pursue those grants. Perfect, everything works, maybe 5 years. Typically rail trails take up to 10, 20 years. Sometimes we've already been doing this 20 years, so I'm really hoping it's 5.
We designed a company here over 20 years ago into the planning commission, presenting that whole beautiful plan of what it could be. So time, nobody realized all the other hoops we had to go through to get to that beautiful picture. Okay, thanks, Elijah. That leads us right into the next two items on the agenda. The first is resolution 984, which is the one about land swap that Elijah referenced, and then also agreement 563, the one about land swap. Is there any questions?
Any questions, I guess?
Nate, let's start with the resolution 984, which is the Borough Council wishes to exchange approximately 5.6 acres of land, like amount, with the Raven Congregation in Springs Park.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution 984, which states the Lititz Borough Council exchange approximately 0.526 acres of unused land for a like amount of land owned by the Raven Congregation of Lititz and the Lititz Springs Park. To facilitate the construction of Norfolk Southern runabout line and to eliminate a lease encroachment of the rec center parking lot onto the park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. In favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Opposed?
Aye.
aye,
Motion approved. Great. Continuing with that same topic, agreement 563, which is agreement what we just talked about in the resolution.
So we'd like to make a motion to approve agreement 563 that facilitates a land swap between the Borough of Lititz Springs Park Incorporated and the Moravian Congregation of Lititz Borough for the runabout line project.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Motion approved. One step closer, Elijah. Thank you. Step by step. All right, moving on to the council members forum. First up, Ken, you want to take it over on water and wastewater?
Thank you, Steve. Tonight, we have 3 items of business, all this stuff, and I made leave it off with the engine market report. Come on up. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Actually, just wanted to, just a few things. We did complete the first well, or first source. It's well C. It's a combination of wells that we have. PFAS sampling. As you can see, the PFOS lab result was 2.1 nanograms. That's 1 parts per trillion. The MCL, the goal. The MCL is the limit, so that's 18. And for the PFOA, it's 2.6, and that's 14. So we're underneath the limit. Hopefully that'll put us to a point of, with the other ones, it'll just be an annual once and done kind of sampling, but we'll have to go through a full year of sampling.
So, yes, sir. Just we have a nice crowd here tonight, and I just want to emphasize what a PFAS is. These are synthetic chemicals that have been made over time. They're the fire retardants, they're Teflon, they're just things that we're in the business of life that we've been using, and we realize they don't go away. And so we're making efforts to start testing for that and then make sure they're not in our water supply, which we're very fortunate because they're
Yes, okay, no, correct. Just as I had said last month, being this time of year, the biosolids drive a lot more, so chemical costs and utilities will creep up a little bit this time of year. And then we've been working on, there's a few of the annual regulatory reports that we've been doing, and I'm pretty sure most of them are complete. There might be one left for us to do. Let's see, end of for the end of the year, January, the budget or the cap summaries, we were over by 36,926.85. We're actually under this month at 84.48.24. We've seen the big purchases at the water plant. We had to replace a recirculating pump on the boiler. We completed the annual chemical feed scale calibrations, and then one of the large lift pumps at the wastewater plant was rebuilt. see, and then, let's see, other than that, it was fairly quiet. And then I have two quotes that I wished to review before we go. So we have well pump number 3, that is actually the second one, Cole Brothers. So well pump number 3 went down over the summer. When we had it pulled and looked at, it was I think from 1986. And they recommended not rebuilding it, replacing it. We did put $50,000 in the budget. I think the quote came in at 42. $42,525. We do recommend the full price replacing the motor and the pump. We don't recommend rebuilding the existing unit. We want to, if we're going to do it all, we might as well replace it all. And since it was below budget, that's why we recommend that. And then with that, the lead time is we wouldn't be able to get it till April for a May installation. So even with the okay to do it, it still would be almost halfway through the year before we can get to that point.
Elijah, do we need to make a motion on these, or since it's within budget?
If it's within the budget. Okay, please proceed with the there.
Okay, thank you. And then we also were looking at, which we had put in the budget, we had talked about this 2 or 3 years ago and slowly going through. The units, the light units at the water plant are 15, 16 feet in the air. They're from 2005 and they're slowly getting to the point you can't replace them, you can't repair them, you have to replace them. It's fairly difficult to do 1 or 2 at a time at such a high level. And we were hoping to update it to LEDs, which in the long run might be a little bit more. But the last 10 years with us not having to risk going up and checking on them, it'll safe wise, it'll really help. We had them re-quote it. Let's see, and there, we filled a room number 102, which was $14,904, and high service pump ring, which was $5,727. They said if we do both at the same time, we'll save 5%. And with a 5% savings, it winds up being $19,599.45. And we had budgeted $19,050. So it'd be about $50 more than what was in the budget.
Okay, I would like saving money.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think other than that, nothing too crazy else to report. Yeah.
Questions from council? Kind of made, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Enfamart report for January for the water and wastewater facilities.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Please sit down. I'd like to jump into the Lititz Water and Sewer Committee report. And the first thing on our agenda is just to acknowledge some of the excellent work that's been going on for quite a long time with Enfamart and managing our water facility. And again, they won the area-wide operations program award for filtration. That's the AWOP award. 7 years in a row, 8 years
At least, yes.
so Nate and some of his team members will be recognized out of State College in March, I believe. And so this is a program that's coordinated with lots of states in the area, the Environmental Protection Agency and other state agencies that encourages rural plants to really focus on filtration and then getting water clean for drinking. So
Yeah, so quick comment. So the DEP say your combined filter effluent only needs to be 0.3 NTU. 0.003. So I mean, it doesn't cost a lot more to optimize the plant. So yeah.
well, congratulations. We're really proud of you and please extend to the team.
Yep.
a great appreciation. Thank you. So the Water Sewer Committee, so we met just last week on February 21st on Wednesday afternoon. We have a lot of things documented and are moving forward, but just some of the highlights was that on the culvert repairs, we've completed the Lincoln side of the culverts right now. So there's still some things remaining, paving, and we're not going to pave until the asphalt plants are open. So that'll be done, and then we'll start on the cedar side of the culvert repair later this year. So that's progress being made. Please. Also announced last month that we had a resident that had a metering issue where a water meter went through a home to another home. Unfortunately, the resident on the East Orange location passed away, and so we're working with our solicitor to understand how we may properly enter the property so we can resolve the meter issue. This is important because it's involved with some of our paving projects that we have planned a little later this year. So that's why we can bring that up. So Rob is working on that with our solicitor and Mike Lewis. The next water and sewer committee March 20th that we want to do right here at the borough for all those that are requested. Now, continue our reporting. The Lititz Borough Authority's next meeting will be April 25th at 7 o'clock in this room. And then finally, the stormwater report is going to be presented by Mary Gaddis. She's online, and Mary, we'll take it away.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah, so I don't have much to report. The Stormwater Committee met just recently, went over various projects going on in the borough, excuse me. And the one thing that I did want to just raise for everybody is was already touched on by Elijah, and that is that staff is putting together a grant application for the Regional Stormwater Bank. And I believe the amount requested is going to be somewhere around $210,000, the amount of the stormwater project that Elijah covered in his presentation. So anything else that you want to say about the grant application, Elijah? And are you going to need a letter of support from council for that?
So Jordan's being, wants to take a point on the application, I haven't heard anything specific, but I would assume that there's a resolution around the time of application.
Okay, great. So we'll have time to do that at the next meeting.
Yes, the deadline's in April.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all I have.
So thanks for reporting in, and Steve, that's it for the Water Sewer Committee.
Great. All right, streets and traffic, Tania.
Okay. All right, we've got a couple on the list here. First one is the 2024 paving bid received by February 21st for the paving projects. There was 9 bids. They ranged from the highest bid was $28,328.08 down to the lowest bid was $721,530 from, if I'm saying this right, Slouch. So it is David Miller's recommendation that the lowest bid of $720,530 from Slouch Inc. be accepted. Does anybody have a question?
Place a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept lowest bid of $721,530 from Slouch Inc. to be accepted. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay. Next up is Lehman Street. Lehman Street parking restriction request. So don't have a date yet, but Bo's working with Wesk on nailing down the date, probably either late March or April, to invite neighbors to Lehman Street to discuss the parking restrictions. So once we have that date, we'll let everybody know. All right. Next up is a special events permit. This is for the parade scheduled for May 27th, 2024. Supposed to start at 10:45 in the morning and end at 1 o'clock. This is organized by the Lititz American Legion post 56. There will be closures. Parking will be bagged as well. No, before we end at the Moravian Cemetery. One question, Keith. It says event staff are needed, so just to clarify, it says there's only 6 people. Are those positions, is there event staff that you coordinate, volunteers? How exactly does that work when they say, hey, I need 6 people?
We have event staff to probably about 8 or 9 people. And they are paid by us, the borough, and then we invoice the organization for the full price of that. It's $23 an hour that we charge for event staff. So event staff is needed at each intersection the parade would go to, Lincoln and Broad, Front, Square, Cedar Main, and Water Main. So, and then we have some at Orange and Broad. So we use that for a lot of events.
Okay.
Like just for the fire and ice, we had event staff down at the crosswalk. So what happens with that is the borough pays that first, and then we get reimbursed by the organization at 100%.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the holiday parade for May 27th, 2024. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
Next is the activity permit for the Lititz Pride Festival on June 29th, 2024. Runs from 11 to 5 in Lititz Springs Park. It's hosted by Lititz Chooses Love. And there was a road closure with park access road from the parking lot to the street. I should have asked you while I had you out there, Chief. Just a question. So when it says that they don't need event staff, they're going to bring their own
There's no.
security or anything like that, that's not necessary?
Within the big roads, free,
Okay.
no road that are affected.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to. Oh, I'd asked Chief and I about the security, and he said they're gonna be providing it themselves, since we're not closing any actual main roads. For that. Sure. I'd like to make a motion to accept the permit for the Lititz Pride Festival on 6/29/2024. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion approved.
I've got a activity event, not another permit for the Sunday in the Park, June 2nd, 2024. Runs from 6:30 in the morning till 4 p.m. in the Lititz Springs Park. So it's organized by the Lancaster Evangelical Free Church. They're going to be having a church service with food trucks and family activities. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Sunday in the Park for June 2nd, 2024. Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, aye.
I was waiting for delay, but there was a longer delay that time. Opposed?
I couldn't find my mute button. Thank you.
Motion approved.
And an activity permit for the 2024 Camporee in the park. It's gonna run from April 5th to April 7th. It's in the Springs Park. It's put on by the Girl Scouts Troop 142. Cleaning up the park. They're gonna have activities, they're gonna have a campfire and a Sunday morning service. Doesn't look like there's any road closures, anything else to read about for that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2024 camper in the park on 4/5 through 4/7, 2024. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
I've got a handicap parking spot application. This individual lives on Cedar Street and does possess a a current Pennsylvania handicap parking and police card. Who is asking for parking space because her driveway is on a hill. And parking on a level that would be desired, and she's got some issues with replacements. So she's asking not to have to go up and down her hill. She could have a parking spot dedicated just for her. I'd like to make a motion to give the handicap parking space for South Cedar Street.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
One other thing I just wanted to add, was in the Lititz record back on February 1st. Just to mention this, I thought this was pretty awesome. The Long Lakes ambulance did finish their 11-year run, and I didn't know this originally, but they have given all their money that they donate to Lititz Borough Company. This year we donated $3,097 just alone, 2023. But what's even more amazing is that over the years, they've actually donated over $21,000 to that fire company. So I think that was pretty amazing. Just want to mention. All right, I think I'm done.
Thank you. Moving on, back over to you, Ken, finances.
Thank you, Steve. We have three items of business to share with you this evening. The first is just a the financial statement there, council. We'll take a look. That's just the general fund that we're looking at. You'll notice that until we start collecting real estate taxes, our expenses are revenue right now. You look at revenue, take a look at the streets line. Have a lot of GI activity budgeted for street openings, and that's actually bringing in some early revenue, and it's exceeding what we had budgeted for with our activities. Relations Council. This is all man. It's good stuff right now. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the financial statement and pay all the invoices.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay, so I have two more items just to share. Just with excitement as we try to read and go forward with as councilman, we have some tools that we're working on to help give us a vision of where we're going and what we need. And so about a year ago, finance met under with Rob's leadership and developed capital policy. We wanted to see what are the financial needs of the bank as we look at 1, 2, 3, and multiple years. So Rob developed a little bit of a scorecard and implemented it last year as a trial to get everybody working on it. So our department heads stepped in and started participating in that exercise. And so tonight, Borough Council, you have the scorecard for this year. And it was just focused on our equipment, buildings, and our vehicles. Now, this does not include the water facility or the sewer facility or MS4. It's just those three categories. And our leaders have already been participating in this exercise. So the benefits is that it's going to help the borough evaluate the assets and really start to see the end of life of some of these assets that happen over time, so we can prepare for replacement. It's going to also give a heads up to council that what you see on this report, we're going to be talking about in November. So it gives us several months to start preparing and looking at how we're going to be able to take care of our teams that are serving the community. So this policy also gives our department an objective tool of they can help them to decide when and how they want to replace these assets. Each year, we're going to do this. It's going to be published in February, and it's going to give us those extra time to plan for the current budget year and then multiple years as we start to build this out. Now, some of the next steps for the finance committee is that we're working with the department managers to help determine our replacement costs for the items that are need to be replaced. And our scorecard, just for the public, is simply a 1 through 4 with 1 being critical. This is where components of the period where there's significant maintenance time, where the asset is out of, it's not available. It's needing to be repaired. So we don't want to have that interfering with any of our service work, our police work. So we want to work as a community to help give our leaders and our teams what we need to do their jobs. One other thing is that we've already met with our teams, and our teams are giving us good feedback. The first version is getting improved already. We've got some great feedback from the police department and from public works. And our team is now spending time working on better metrics and better measures that are representative of what the asset needs to be, how it needs to be evaluated. So thank you guys for that work. Okay, the last item of business is finance has had another monthly meeting on Friday, the 23rd of February. And our first item of business, we met with Alpha National Bank, and we just reviewed our sweep accounts, and that covers the general fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, and the stormwater fund. And we just went over some simple things of how we want to manage. One thing I'll share with you is that all these accounts are numbered. And so somebody just asked, can you label them like we know? So can we label them general, water, sewer, and stormwater? So that was one takeaway. The other thing is we discovered we have one fund, this is a park fund, that has some funding in there that we would like to put at work. So we charged the National Bank to come back and give us a proposal and compare a 9-month CD or another sweep account to help with that management of those funds. So they're coming back to us. We should have an answer in early March because I think the CD will be announced, rate will be announced March 5th. The second item of business is that we discussed as a committee to review the pension funds for both the public works and the police department. We've done that in the last couple of years, so we've invited RJ Chen and the principal group to join us with representatives from the public works and the police department to go over how the pension funds are performing and what are we doing to help protect those retirement assets. We reviewed the capital scorecard again, some feedback from our leaders. And see the last thing have a lot of actions to do in the weeks and months ahead to keep up with our goals. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Jerry, if you can hear me, you're next on deck there, Personnel Committee.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
So good evening, everyone from warm New Orleans. Sorry I was not able to attend the meeting tonight. This time in New Orleans was scheduled before I was elected, and so it was important for me to be here. So thank you for your indulgence. I'm here tonight to report that I'm nominating Andy Greiner as the citizens rep to the Warwick Emergency Service Commission. We all knew Andy. He was part of the Borough Council and was the Borough Council rep to the Warwick Emergency Service Commission. Of course, he is a resident of the borough and has a lot of interest in knowledge about the workings and the responsibilities of the Warwick Emergency Service Commission. This appointment is a response to the resignation of the previous citizens rep, and so Andy will now fill that role. His appointment certainly brings a lot of expertise and institutional knowledge to the commission, and I'm really happy and delighted to recommend him to the council for this appointment. I think I saw him in the audience when I joined the meeting, but I'm not sure. Is Andy in the audience?
Hiding a few rows behind the chief.
Okay. So my recommendation is that we appoint Andy Greiner to the Warwick Emergency Service Commission as the citizens rep.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I just make, Steve, can I just make one other comment?
Let me just finish by saying motion approved there.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No worries.
So one of the things that the Borough Council is working on is some goals for the next year or for this year. One of them is going to be to look at our membership appointments of the various commissions, councils, and boards. And so as these nominations come to the council in the future, there will be some more planning and insights into how we do that and some more intentionality. Our goal is to involve more citizens from the borough on these commissions, boards, and subcommittees. And we look forward to working with the council, establishing those guidelines and to announcing those openings to the general public.
Vice Chair, personnel.
So I have,
Okay. Thank you, Jerry. Moving on to the subcommittee report on planning. Christine?
Thank you, Steve. Just to report out on what the planning commission has been working on over the past several months. They've had a request from our downtown merchants to allow them to use A-frame signage or commonly known as sandwich boards. Currently, it's not allowed for zoning law in the historic district, but they've asked the planning commission to take a look at that and possibly revise it. So that's what they've been doing and have some very productive discussions about that. I just wanted to bring to record that we did receive a letter from one resident expressing some concerns about allowing that. And I'm going to read a portion of her letter just for the record. She is a Lititz Borough resident. A person with limited mobility, it's not easy for her to get safely around downtown. There are several reasons. She feels that to keep these sandwich board signs off the sidewalks on any given day, downtown sidewalks are physically tight in places containing permanent impediments like trees, lampposts, phone poles, and parking meters. Sandwich board signs would add an already challenging situation for residents, workers, and busloads of tourists, increasing the risk of injury to herself and others. She already feels bad that her wheelchair actually inconveniences other pedestrians whenever she goes downtown. If there were sandwich board signs on the sidewalks, she would not feel as welcome to shop or dine or celebrate in our downtown. I just wanted to mention that we received this note or this letter dated January 19th, 2024. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Mary, any report on zoning?
No report tonight.
Okay. Moving back over to you, Ken, buildings and grounds.
Oh, yes, I have one item to share with council. That's, we would like to, move forward with the replacement of the HVAC. We have one unit that is failing. We delayed it from last year, so we put it in the budget. The budget, that is we have to replace the unit, the program, requirements, and then also the thermostat. So they're all part of the replacement. It's about $140,000 is what our estimate came in. So tonight, the council needs to advertise this opportunity, and then we'll move forward in posting that project and get some bids out. So
Yeah, just to clarify, all we'll be doing tonight is the estimate's on 40,000. It's just so we can start the process of advertising.
I'd like to make a motion to advertise the replacement of Borough Hall's HVAC unit along with all program requirements and thermostats.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? Aye.
aye.
Opposed, motion approved. Anything else?
Yes, with the committee, next month, where we have some agenda items to review and share with council next month.
Thank you. Moving on to subcommittee on benefits and insurance. Jerry, you have anything?
No report at this point.
Okay, thank you. Report from borough engineer. I don't see Scott here tonight, but you have packet his report. Questions there?
I did have a question, just clarify for me if you could. His number 4, talking about here, the 2024 Green Light Go grant. So just to clarify, do we pick an intersection every year and we figure out what needs to get if it needs to be replaced, or maybe you can help me.
So the Dream Like Grant program is through PennDOT, and it has to be with
Grant.
Signal. Yes, it's a state grant program. They've been very successful. I think this is a grant in the past 10 years or so.
Okay.
But they're mainly focused on signal improvements. Traffic signals, even though they're on state roads, are the municipality's responsibility. This is a way to sort of subsidize those costs.
Okay.
So specifically, we got a grant for 2 intersections on Broad Street. One is at 6th, one is at 2nd. So Scott's been working with our traffic engineer, which is Grove Miller, to do the updates to specifically 6th Street. And what was done there was the turning lanes that are going to be aligned better so that they're not offset. But it's an issue if you're making a turn to the north or south on the
I do it all the time.
So,
If I'm wrong, Elijah, the last time, I mean, modifications we made here at Orange and Broad.
and was with the last one.
Got that left hand.
Right. Okay.
The other ones were upgrading all the signal controllers with, as part of that project, we've replaced some pedestrian signal heads. So it's basically any kind of improvement to the signal systems at the various intersections.
Thank you.
Other questions? The engineer report? Right, moving on to Mary, you got a report?
The only thing I've been, that I have to report on is just been monitoring and observing what happened with the our participation with the fire and ice, but outside of that, that's it, nothing.
So have a copy of police department report here. Chief, anything to add? Questions from anyone regarding Chief's report?
Can I just ask, Chief, overall, how do you feel about fire and ice? I don't know if y'all could see that, but that got a smile on his face right away.
I was gonna come up and talk about it, but I figured somebody asked. I like the 10-day program, to be honest with you. We had very few issues. We did take a proactive approach with Venture Lives this year we did close off the one sidewalk on North Broad. And like I said earlier, we had some event staff down at the flashing light at Crossing Broad at the park. That certainly helped with traffic. Traffic didn't seem to be as bad, backed up as always. I've talked to several merchants. They've had some of the best weekends these last 2. So I like the way it is. Venture Lives, and Emily was kind of thrown into this extreme, and she did a great job coordinating it. And we had using weather the whole time. So as far as the police department goes, I'm very little concerned. Very little problems. Couple found wallets, couple lost wallets. Nothing other than that. So.
I remember last year we had a concern from a resident right after the fire and ice regarding the crosswalks. And I think when you said you closed the sidewalk, I think you meant the crosswalk.
Yes, I'm sorry.
At North Lane there. So I think that, I don't know if that resident happens to be here tonight or not. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I know he had a major concern about the ability to cross Broad Street to get back and forth from the park to the other side of town. And
Basically, I was cut off that, crosswalk there. So they can either go up the square and cross or go down to the flashing signal. And like I said, all the weekends we had somebody there in the evenings. And then on Monday during the children's carnival, we had staff there between 10 and 2. So like I said before, we're pays for that, but then 100% we invoice Venture Lives and then they reimburse the borough for that. So moving forward, I think good. As far as I'm concerned, this 10-day program should be what we stick with.
great. Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you. And I think y'all did a fantastic job of that, monitoring those crosswalks. I think that went very well from my observation. Thank you, Chief.
To the managing director's reports, we have both a Rob and Elijah's report. Rob, start with you. Is there anything you want to elaborate?
Just a few items on the report there. That the sewer system, the chapter 94 report, that's an annual report we do to DEP based on our EDU, sewer flow, things like that. It goes to Intech. It is on schedule to be filed by the deadline, which is the end of March. So we're on target there. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is the letter of Jaber on the second page, the fiscal year 2023 audit. Round Plus, who the new auditors were in here in early February. We did all the field work testing. There was no major concerns. We will
as compared to how it used to be in the past. Trout used to give us our audited financial statements, our DCE reports, joint sewer all at the same time. This year it's going to be a little different. Down Plus is going to do the DCED report first, which is due by the end of March, and then we'll follow up with the other ones in April or May, which will be the audited statements and the joint sewer services agreement. So they're a little bit different, but it's still the same information. Another audit took place last week from the state, and was for our liquid fuels fund audit. They were doing the fiscal year 2022. Once again, no major problems. However, we haven't had our exit interview yet to know all the details of it, but the field work is finished, and we're just waiting to hear back from them. Questions?
Report. Okay. Thank you, Rob. Elijah?
Thank you. As I talked about previously, there's been a lot of runabout this month, but beyond that, A-frame sign draft amendment, which I've been working with the planning commission, as Chris mentioned. We hosted a training session with the Historic Area Advisory Committee for PHMC to discuss kind of their standards for some of their boards. They were very complimentary, but I think it was a very beneficial citing that we have very kind of value from the historic preservation standpoint. And Jordan worked on and posted a zoning map, which is on the website, which is an improvement over the previous one.
Great.
Any more questions?
PHMC stands for,
Thank you. Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission.
thank you.
Any other questions for Elijah? All right, thank you, guys. All right, we have no new, no unfinished, no other petitions, correspondence, and questions, public comments and questions. Does anybody in the public have a question or matter they want to discuss that not on the agenda? Come up, state your name, address.
I'm Rick Moats on 659 Laurel Avenue. And then I'd like to thank you for the acknowledgement on the light show. We're doing it for 11 years now, and I did say, and she put in the paper, that this was the last year of the show, because it just got so complicated. I mean, I appreciate the town support, my neighbor's support. I never got a single complaint from anybody regarding hundreds of cars. Still have that box out for the fire department next year, so people used to put more dollar bills in there, so we'll still continue it, just not at the same high level. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
About two other hands.
Yeah, I just wanted to raise an issue, been on my mind for a bit, which is the size and proportion of the wards that elect everybody to council. This is probably an issue, really it is an issue of, that's the way things have always been, because it's possible that council has never changed the wards in Lititz. In 2023, first ward, there were 738 votes cast, second ward, 733 votes cast, third ward, 1,543 votes cast. So I haven't studied the actual population per ward, but this does indicate that one ward seems to have twice the number of constituents as the other two wards. Sam actually showed me this discrepancy several years ago, and it's been in my mind, but after this last election, it became it reminded me. I have a person, I have very strong political opinions. I have not discussed this with the leaders, any political party. I don't know what the ramifications for changing the demographics are. I just think this is a fairness issue. I did let Elijah know that I was going to be bringing it up because I figured if I bring up a new issue and you have questions about how this works, he might have better answers than I do. But I do know according to state law, all wards in the borough shall be numbered and composed of compact and contiguous territory as nearly equal in population as practicable, as officially and finally reported in the latest official census. So it indicates to me each census there should be at least some review of the wards and the population in those wards. And so I just bring it up as an issue that perhaps council should be looking at in the near future.
How many did you say in second ward?
My count was 738 votes first ward, 733 votes second ward, 1,543 votes third ward.
Okay.
So it seems to me that's as big as the other two, but yeah.
Is that, that's just the folks that voted, is that registered voters?
That is the people who voted. Again, having 3 wards and having 1 ward have twice as much voter participation as any other ward would be highly improbable.
The assumption is, to your point, it was probably created. I have no idea what year it was created, but for those that don't know, that's south side of town, so it's like Butterfly Acres and everything out there probably wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was created.
So as neighborhoods have been added to the borough over the last 200 years, you know, wards were apparently not changed, boundaries were not changed to reflect the total population. I don't know if Elijah had anything about, if anything else you found about when things have been changed or not changed, but that was my intention, my understanding has been beyond memory.
Yeah, we can look into it. I honestly, I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to begin to see how that's done.
Yeah, I mean, the state defines what a ward is and how it should be used in a borough. Sorry if I'm using much more of my time, but then it's on the borough council to use census data to consider and redraw wards in the most condensed and contiguous way possible.
We'll take a look into it and see exactly what it would take.
Thanks.
And as you did share some information with us, so we'll take a look at it. Like I said, I have no idea even where to begin, but I'm sure Elijah will find something.
Andy Griner, 675 Laurel. I think if you research this, it'll show that the new homes that were built out in the where the tree farm was done between censuses, so it has not caught up. That population has not caught up in the census, and I think that's the big difference. I was going to say, when I was elected to borough council, I think the total votes cast were just under 1,000. So now it's 1,500, 1,600. And that the difference there was 400 plus units out of Meridian Manor.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And that's a whole new larger population out there too. It's all part of Ward 3. Okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Todd had considered or had whether he's thinking about should there be a new ward created or simply a reapportionment, which I think would make more sense. We don't want to get into a position probably of having additional wards where we have to come up with additional staffing. It's additional burden on the county election board and so forth, but a reapportionment, is that something that you had given any thought to, Todd, or is this just you're just bringing this to our attention and we take it from there?
Yeah, I think all Todd's just sharing is pointing it out to us.
Todd, can you come back up to the mic?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think all he was basically sharing was that there's obviously a disparity, you know, with the 700, 700 and 1,500, it's the third ward twice as many votes. So I would just say, otherwise, I have no idea. I have no idea if we could create another road, you know, whether, I imagine that's even more complicated, but I would say, Elijah, if you can kind of research and maybe we'll report out next month as to what can be done, can't be done, how it would be done. So I appreciate you bringing up. I've never paid attention to those exact.
And I also think it's in regard to population per ward, not who votes.
Yeah.
That's
How many actual voters there are, not necessarily who votes. Okay. What else?
Question to 2016. I have 2 questions in relationship to things that were brought up tonight. Just ask them and maybe discussion about where it goes. The capital scorecard that was going to be really that be presented to the residents for either review, input, or from Zoom. And the second question is to the free permits being for things that happen in the park that the borough really has an involvement with as far as street clothing or security. What's the criteria for permits to be
if they're using the parking as a private entity, private ownership. Well, that has nothing to do with that, if there's the number of people showing up, or what the event is. Second question.
Can I tell you the first question? That's the only questions. Dave. Any other comments?
Surprised it.
I just want, you usually have a couple others, so I just want more of that.
I'd be happy to share the capital policy with you and the scorecard. I can show you the draft we have now, but I'd be more excited to show you the renovating and the, but either way, I'd be happy to share it and share it.
I don't know. Let me suggest that once you get it to a point, let's share with the entire public here.
Right, that's what I'm asking you. Does the public have knowledge of it? Well, sure, we can do it before it's finalized. Let's go with that.
Once we add it,
Sounds good. I'll let you know.
goes to a finish point.
And just the timeline that we're having is that we have a lot of follow-up to do, after managers gave us some feedback. So we put out a timeline that we're gonna do it the first and second quarter. So sometime in the second quarter, we could probably have that complete. Great, thank you. You're welcome.
And regarding the 3 permits in the park, Chief, do you want to take that one? So what's our jurisdiction on anything that happens in the park?
Many years ago, when the park started having a lot of these public events, we had asked them to fill out, we have 2 different types of permit. We have an activity permit, which does not affect any roadways. And we have an event permit, which would be like for the parades where roadways are affected. We asked for event permits to try to be brought, submit at least 120 days ahead of that event, because we have to contact the state to close down the roads. We found that the park several years ago were having these public events, and we had no idea they might be bringing 3, 4, or 5,000 people in. So it is more for just the kind of general knowledge of it. And as the borough council, we really can't stop them from having this event. But it'd like for us to know, so we wouldn't ask them to put anything that is open to the public on an event forum. Okay, now I'm not a fan of a reunion or something along those lines, but you'll see many more coming through here or for something in the park.
Just for terminology, it's an activity permit that they're doing. It is.
It was a larger one, right? Like just think about roads that are closed. Okay, so that's how we do it. And the park, once someone comes and say, I want to have, I'll just use an example, like the band has a food truck coming up here in May. They know they have to have that, they give it to me, I look over it, and I submit it to the streets and traffic, and it's brought up for council approval. Okay, thank you. For those questions?
I asked.
Go ahead.
The question is, so we're not, the council not really doing a permit. She said that's not really something they can stop. Was the council taking a liability, like giving approval, so to speak, of the event or something would happen? I'm just asking, so you're asking for a permit.
We do ask for an insurance waiver made out to the borough for any of those activities. So it does cover the borough's liability.
Say no.
I know Christine was working with one of our staff members to kind of rewrite this. But this is kind of long, but I know, I'm sure Sergeant, you have talked about it, and she's looking at a different format. But it was really just kind of public knowledge for us, because, if something happens in the park, at least we're aware of what's going on.
Yeah, it's a process we use to notify all the interested parties that this event or this activity is going to be taking place. And there is some updating to the application that has been requested, partially from WESC even, and from the police department, so that we can further enhance the information that's gained through the application process to help these people do their jobs a little bit better and to make everyone aware. But this is the process that we use to notify interested parties, whether it be WESC, the fire department, the ambulance, the police, the downtown merchants, or anyone else who maybe have a vested interest, the residents, that this activity is going to be taking place and that they're expecting a crowd of X amount of people. Yep. Rich, did you have a question about that as well? Okay, please let him go first and then Todd, you're next.
Again, Rich Oates, 659 Laurel, and I'm the park president. And people have no idea how many events people want to have. We're trying to limit how many events. Some of the events have gotten very large, and we definitely respect your opinion and your votes. And we just kind of correspond with what we already have voted on. We've already talked to the police department. We thank the police department for helping us out with everything that they do in the park, patrolling the park and everything else. Yes, this is a private park. It's still a public, but it's park. So something unique that isn't around anywhere else that I know of.
Thank you, Rich.
I guess one of my questions is, my question on this then is part of the activity permit process to identify what is happening so that if the day of the event, it turned out to be something else, it turns out to be 10 times larger, or it turned out to be 6 food trucks show up that weren't identified in the past, but somehow the police department would have the authority to either close it or shut, if it's affecting public safety and public traffic in a way that wasn't approved and announced, that the police then would have the authority to say this is beyond the scope of the permit, right?
The way I would look at it too, it's like for any large event that might affect them or they need to know that 5,000 people in busy parking.
Right, but then if it turns out to be 25,000,
right,
then emergency services and law enforcement can respond because it's beyond the scope of the permit and the public and the council were aware of.
And I look at it too, almost on the planning commission now, it's almost like an awareness when that comes. We're something very, they already have this ordinance, this
Yep.
also.
Mhm.
Same here, that if they end up coming forward with some event or activity that's gonna have other issues there also.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Not. Final item on the agenda?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Sorry.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Aye.